Thank you all for joining. Today we'll be seeing much on the advanced trace options available in zTPFGI. This is more about the trace store, where it will enable you to monitor any changes on given address. That is, for example, it might be a core address, or any change in the data level, DCB fields, DCBs, file address, or even the register. When it comes to monitor, you might need to monitor with respect to particular data, or that might be byte level or bit level. G has the capability to monitor up to 64 bytes of data at one shot, or you can even monitor a single byte or single bit. I'll be seeing more on the webinar. Apart from that, we'll also see the source mode on option along with the trace store. Moving on to the demo. Okay, I'm already connected to one of the test system. You can see the test system name over here, which is zTPF9, which is one of our test system for this webinar. To access the trace store, you can click on the active resource, which might be your ALC1 terminal. In most of the cases, in some of the cases, it might be your LOC1 terminal. Once you are in the terminal, input terminal, where you can see the trace ribbon, which have all the trace options. The trace store is next to the selected macros. There is a here is the highlighted icon. Source mode is next beside to it. Let me click on the trace store option. Before moving on to any of the inputs and stopping, let me quickly explain the options available in trace store. In trace store, we have core address, where you can give the system core address if you're before the transaction, and if you're in the middle of the transaction, you can give a heap address or the core address, whichever you got. That might be that is your ECB core address or EVM core address. All the 6 options have the similar format, where you'll be giving respective format. That might be core address, data level, DCB or ECB field, file address or register over here. Apart from that, there will be a displacement and watch length. This will be available for all options except register. When it comes to displacement, here you can mention from which byte you need to monitor. If you have the core address 0, and if you want to monitor from the displacement 10, then you can set the displacement as 10. When it comes to watch length, this is your monitor area. This is the data. If you want to monitor 10 bytes from the displacement 10 or 20 bytes from the displacement 10, then you can give watch length like this. Let me cancel this one for now. Yes. Let me give one of the entry, DTRST2. I know this is one of the entry which changes data level D4. So I'm just going to capture any change on the data level. When it comes to data level, if you want to monitor the whole data level, then you can mention as is, that is, you doesn't need to give any displacement or watch length, and I can just give select D4 and then give OK. This will monitor the whole data level D4. That is, any changes on the D4, then it will get stopped. Just going to do OK. Now the trace store is set. Let me hit OK. Okay, now if you see, there is a data change from in the R2, which has the D4 data address. That is your core address here. You can double click on the core address and see the data content over here. You can see whenever there is a change, then it's going to get highlighted over here. If you keep the code block opened. Now we are stopping on any change in D4, that is the data level D4. If you do a run to trace or F10, then it will stop on any store changes happens in your transaction which corrupts or changes in D4 data level. Let me do run no trace. This last time we traced the whole data level. If you want to monitor only particular data level, particular area in data level D4, then you can set the watch length. I can set maximum of 64 bytes, that is x of 40. Let me, even if you give more than 50 and then if you do okay, it's going to monitor the 50 bytes. It's going to capture any changes in the D4 which is within the first 50 bytes. It won't capture any of the other changes, which is when there is any change beyond the 50 bytes. Okay. I just did run no trace. Okay, now we have a watch length of 50 bytes. If you want to watch any particular data, that is, if you want to watch 50 bytes, we won't be allowing, but we still allow only x of 40. If you have a 64 bytes long string, then you can give this string over here, and then you can monitor that particular data. Okay. If I change the watch length, then it's going to change the compare data automatically. I just set to monitor the store on x of 20 for 1 byte, which I'm just looking for the C1 byte. Here, if you see, there is a C1 data, so it got stopped during this store. So what we'll do is we'll monitor for any store operation on that particular address which is given in the trace store. That is for D4, the displacement 20 for the byte 1. Then we will stop at that particular byte. Similarly, we can have ECB field over there. Let me do a ECB field for ABW0, then do OK. When it comes to ECB field, we automatically fetch the length based on the field. If you see here, we have ABW area for 1 byte, or if you want to monitor from that particular work area, you can still give the watch length a different watch length, changing the watch length to 8 bytes. Okay, let me do a no trace. We just watched for 4 bytes, and there is a store operation over here. If you see here, they do a store for 1 byte over here on EBW0. Here we stored 4 bytes. Okay. If you see here, this is on one of the COM source program. If you want to monitor for a particular program, then you can hit the selected programs and you can give the program which you want to monitor. In my case, if I just go with your ST, even you can give wildcard. If you just want to hit the wildcard, you can just do OK. And if I do a run to trace, it's not stopping over there. Let's I just have a trace store option with the selected programs now, and then if I do OK, sorry, I got a network issue. Let me I just did a reset of the trace. Let me try to set the trace again. Let me go with the ECB field as well. ECB field for 4 bytes. Let me do OK. And this time, let me stop only for the CAA segments. This will stop only for the ECB changes, which is made only on CAA segments. Last time we've seen that it got stopped for multiple times, but I can see here this time it only stops on the trace store for that particular segment. Okay. Do none and then OK. To reset the trace store, you can use none and then do OK. Here in the trace store, we see in the data level ECB field. Similar to that, we can also give DECB, where if you know the DECB name, then you can mention the DECB over there. Let me get the DECB name. Now let me set trace store for the DECB and the DECB name over here. Similar to data level, you can able to capture or monitor the whole of DECB. Here you can see there is a DECB address. In few cases, you might need to you might be getting the malloc or the core address after getting that. In those cases, you can just get the core address from here, and then you can change the core address, and you can even monitor the core address from there. Okay, this will monitor the first 50 bytes of the DECB. These are some of the options available in the trace store. Let me also show the file address option. If you have the file address, you can hit the file address over here to monitor the whole any change on that particular file. That means if there is any core obtained for that particular file and there is any change, then we will even capture that one. When it comes to register, you can able to monitor the whole registers. If there is any change, then it will get stopped. But as the note mentioned here, it will just the system overhead since you are trying to monitor each and every instruction for the register change. Here it's trying to stop on any register for change, but the register trace store might be handy when you are working on any of the count option. That means if you just want to monitor for register when it becomes 5, then you can just maintain enter 05 and it will just stop when the content changes to 5. Let me remove the trace store. And let's set the trace store for E4 20 and on byte. There might be cases where you might need to do a source view trace after stopping at particular point. In that case, in my case, it is the program DRST, and if I just want to do a source view trace, I can remove the trace store and then set the source mode on. This will help me to trace TRST program in the source view trace. It's obtaining the debug file and setting up the trace for TRST. This is the instruction which made the changes in the data level. So if you want to step into or step through, then you can able to do a source view trace from here. The only part on the source mode on is it would be source mode on tries to lock all the segments in the source view trace. That means even if it is a IBM segment, comps segment, or any segments prior to your application segment, even if it try to stop on that one, it would be better if you stop on particular segment and then start tracing from there. Then you will be able to trace all the segments going forward in the source view trace. We do a run. Okay. I'm just going to reset the source mode. Let me do add SO2 view for one of the test segments, TST0, where it will go back to much more enters. Let me do a trace in source view. This is one way where I'm trying to set stop for the TST0. I'm just going to use EDST0 entity to hit that particular test segment. Here, let me enable the source mode on to trace any segments getting entered from henceforth. Can see an intensity N over here, the cursor, and then if I do a step into, then it will get traced on the TST1 with the source mode on option. It's trying to get the debug information and then the source segment. You can see it got stopped on TST1. There is an entry here. If you do a step into over here, it will tries to stop on the TST2. Thereby, you can able to trace multiple segments, which is whichever it gets entered. Now we are entering the TST2 segments. Let me do a step out so that it will just gets back to the program it's called. I just use step out to get back the control to the TST1 segment. You can do run or run or trace henceforth if you don't want to trace anymore. As I mentioned, source mode on is very helpful if you are getting traced from one point. Let me do a run. I can use TS segments, and with the source mode on, it will try to stop on any of the segments which is starting with TST or TS. This is one other way where I didn't set any source trace before, but I used the selected programs to filter out or set a filter for the source mode on. From there, if you want to trace a particular package or any program starting with TS, you can able to trace from here. If you want to add more, you can add even particular segments, TST1. Also, if you want to remove in TS, if you just want to remove one of the segments, that is TST1 or TST2, even you can do that, still do that. Here, since we have a TS operation, it will still enters the TST1 segment, trying to get the debug information and getting the trace. If you want to disable source mode option, you can enable and disable anytime. Also, if you want to view the call stack or any of the instructions, you can see using the ECB information, or you can use the machine trace option to view that. This works for C as well, where you can able to trace multiple segments using the source mode on option. We do a run or trace. Let me remove the source mode on option and then do a run or trace. Let me quickly show one of the C segment. If I just set for APE and do an OK. This will stop on any of the C segment which is getting entered with the source mode on option. Can do a step into, or I can trace from here of the program file type, and you can able to stop on any program and then trace. That's all I have for today's session. It is open for questions. If you have any questions, you can ask me on.
Praveen, there's a question from Jim. The question is, how do these options function with asynchronous trace settings? Hello, Praveen?
Sorry, I can show that quickly.
Okay.
Okay, uh, this works similar. Let me set one of the async terminals for the program uh, TST0 maybe. Uh, this will stop if there is any execution on the TST0. Um, when it comes to trace store, it is again depends on the terminal. You can open your asynchronous terminal. Okay, let me set PGM ST, which has the trace store options. Now I have PGM2. For the PGM tool, I can able to set the trace store option, but as I mentioned, it needs to be specified with respect to the terminal. That is, if you have asynchronous terminal, then you need to bring that asynchronous terminal forward and then set the particular trace store. I'm just going to watch the whole byte, and I just give the entry from the crime console, which is going to get captured uh, in the in GI. If you see here, it just not stopped for the TRST. As we set an additional trace over here for the trace store, that is, it only stops when there is a trace store which gets matched. That is, if there is any change in particular data level, then it's going to get stopped. You can see that it got stopped for the PGM2. The same works for the source mode option. Let me do a trace over here, and it got auto disabled. Let me bring the PGM1, which is on TST0. For this terminal, I can able to enable the source mode on option, and can hit zTST0, which going to it will stop on asynchronous trace, and it will automatically get the source mode and get stops over there. So the only difference would be if you have any asynchronous configured, or that is, if you set up the asynchronous, then you need to bring those terminal in front and then change the trace options so that it will get the additional trace or the advanced trace options from there with respect to that particular trace configuration configured for respective terminal. That might be asynchronous or the LC one. Hope that answers your query.
Jim, you're self-muted, so you can either respond to it or send a chat message, or you're unmuted. You need to unmute yourself. Praveen, the next question is, does all the trace store option work with the asynchronous?
Yes. A trace store is not defined or differentiated with respect to any terminal. It's just like if you have the terminal enabled, then it's going to work. All the trace store option will work. I can, if you want, I can quickly show another example. But as I mentioned, it should work irrespective of the terminal.
Praveen, Jim is fine with the answer.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay.
And
Thank you all.
you're